All right, so we're going to jump in here and look at a couple businesses for sale. So we're going to go through some broker sites because they're going to be the easiest to work with. We're not actually going to download any summaries. I'm just going to show you what I'm looking for when I'm looking at actual listings. So Alpine Business Brokers, this is a local one here in Utah. So a lot of local businesses, but some of them are a little further. And we'll jump into some other cities, but I just went and searched by, businesses for sale, the main listings. You can kind of see a general idea of each one of these. And then of course you click through, pretty self-explanatory. Let me jump on here. One thing that sticks out to me is I want to jump on to cash flow. I'm filtering by cash flow, right? The ones who make the most amount of money. As you can see, they actually had one that was like losing money, a pizza franchise. Yeah, terrible. Don't buy that. So a couple things when I'm looking at this. So first off, I look at some of these things. Government contractor, they're asking $6 million. Their sales is 29 million. Cash flow 1.2 million. Okay, there might be some real estate tied to that. Whatever. To me, that's not like super interesting. I think if you're in that space, or it's probably a really good acquisition for a competitor. But so let me look at a few things here. So I went through and clicked on a few of these. These are ones that I'm going to be looking at. Some of the ones that are interesting sometimes hover around this like 300 to 700,000 range. If you get too small, say it's making 20 grand a year, it's just not worth the hassle and it's just a big headache, right? You're not going to have massive growth, and the chances of a business making 50K a year going to zero or 20K a year going to zero is pretty large. So let's look at some of these that are kind of in that middle space. Catering business, I'm sure that one got hammered. Let's look at the solar business. I've got that one pulled up, and then there was the trampoline parks. I really like trampoline parks. I think they're going to bounce back nicely. And then here's another one, like a Wyoming business. That's a recreational business. I like this one, 300,000 in cash flow and profit, 2.2 million. It's got to have some real estate with it. So let's pull this up. Okay, so we clicked on the Wyoming one. So this is a Wyoming business. Is a successful entertainment center located in a beautiful small town. So a couple things I like about this. It's entertainment. It's in a small town, which, like they're saying, is competition is going to be a little further out. So you might have some just local bias that people like it. Okay, so I like that. Also, from the quick facts, I also look real fast. Okay, they're asking 2.2 million for this, but they're only 300 grand in cash flow. Revenues are 823. I think that's like 37, 38% margins, as I was just doing a podcast episode on this. So 38% margins, I absolutely love. But this is a really high multiple. And the reason is it's because there is real estate included. So that's also something that's really important and really key there. Okay, so a couple things to kind of unwrap here. So if this is listed at 1.6 million, it includes the real estate. That's huge. I really like that aspect of it. So say, for example, you actually took that out of the purchase price. The purchase price is 600 grand. Well, the cash flow is 303, right? So it's basically a 2x on that when you take out the real estate. And the other side of it, all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment comes out to almost 600 grand, right? So just the assets of the business are pretty close to that 2.2 million, and then throw on the cash flow on that. So I really like this business. It's not home-based. You have some employees. Is there someone here that has been there a long time that you could hire and put in as the manager and free yourself up there? That would be the biggest thing I would look at there. Now, a couple of things, right? It's in a small town. So the concern I would have here is, have they maxed out? It says they haven't, but everybody says they haven't maxed out, of course. So that would actually be my concern. Now, these types of recreational businesses that I had mentioned, there was a trampoline park earlier. They're probably pretty easy to run. I have several friends in that space, and a lot of them don't live in they don't live where their actual trampoline park or their entertainment center is. So that's something to keep in mind, but you want to make sure you've got a really good employee here. And I would imagine, hey, for the first 2 to 3 months, you're going to want to go live in this small Wyoming town. And then after that, you're probably going to want to get out there once a month or once every 3 months. So, and of course, you're going to have turnover with your employees. So there's just different issues here. I like that you come with real estate. I like that it's in a small town. I do wonder if the owner says this is continued to succeed and grow up above this. I don't know. I don't know if I truly believe that, but I think this is an interesting one. So in this case, you would just jump in here, put in your information, your name, your email, and your phone number, and you can get some more information. What's going to happen there is they're going to send you an NDA, and then you can go ahead and sign that, and they'll send you the summary of the business. And most likely it'll be 6 to 12 months too old because your brokers just don't get updated financials very often. And when you get these financials, you have to see these financials on a monthly basis, because you're going to pay your debt on a monthly basis. You're going to be running the company on a monthly basis. So you can't just see like, oh, they made money in 2018 and 2018. You need to see the breakdown per year. Okay, so the next one we looked at was that solar business. So we clicked on this one. This is an interesting one. This is based in South Carolina. So like, depending upon where you're at, most people listening to this aren't like, based there in South Carolina. I don't know anything about the solar industry. It's an interesting industry to be in. It's a business where you can do almost $4 million a year in revenue and have like 100 installations a year. That's pretty cool. You're talking $20,000 purchases. I like that aspect of it. They're only asking like $350 for this, and the cash flow is almost 500 grand. So to me, that's like kind of a red flag. Like, why is this so cheap? Especially because the equipment is $250,000. So you're not paying very much for this business. It does come with 10 full-time employees. This is really, really critical. I do think these types of local businesses, it's important to have those employees or someone that you could promote to be the GM and run this thing. I would imagine you're going to want to move to South Carolina if you took over this business. This is an interesting one. To be honest with you, you got to learn more about this particular industry. A lot of solar is based on the timing of the different government incentives and the tax incentives. So I would be very careful in this industry unless you know that well. Reach out to people who are in the industry and not in South Carolina, and they'll probably be really, really cool with you. So look at locally if you're not there in South Carolina, and to get some feedback there. Of course, if you want more information, put your info here. Okay, so this is another one that I looked at. This is I actually just Googled, business brokers in San Diego because I wanted some other examples here. And the first 3 or 4 options were great options, and I clicked on it. I kind of bounced around a little bit. I just went to buy a business. And when you click on that, you just click on, the listings, okay? So this was an interesting one just because the numbers were interesting. So this is an SBA pre-qualified specialty construction. I think this has to do with flooring or asphalt or concrete or something, just based on the picture. First off, I say, okay, this is SBA pre-qualified. This means they've actually talked to banks. The broker has talked to banks and verified a few things. Now, the business needs to be SBA pre-qualified, but the borrower does need to also. So SBA is, it's not the government loaning the money, it's the government backing the bank up to like 85% of that loan. So typically with small businesses and small business acquisitions, the SBA or a government entity will back that loan. So the bank is essentially going to get their money back from you, or they're going to get it back from the bank. Now, some banks are better to work with than others. We won't get into that here. So the reason this is interesting is they're asking for $2.8 million for this business. That's basically a 1x revenue, but never value these businesses off revenue. But the adjusted net income with, of course, all their ad backs and everything is like almost 1.2 million. So if you do, it's basically, so if we do 28 divided by 12, it's a 2.3x. So really, really not bad. When I look at something like this, like that's pretty good, being at like 2x, right? 2.3x. Comes with equipment, $300,000. That's interesting. It's just a really inexpensive business. You're only paying a little bit more than 2x, plus you get $300,000 in equipment. It's been around for 25 years. So that to me is really important for a variety of reasons. It's got staying power, but it also means there's probably a lot of room for optimization. So especially from a business that's been around that long, that current owner has been running that business for a long time. And it says, a reason for selling is retirement. There's probably a ton of things you can do to optimize. You can actually look at just increasing their Google reviews, optimizing their Yelp pages because you're in California and Yelp matters, introducing a texting service to communicate with customers back and forth. There's just a ton of things that you could do. You can introduce Slack to the employees so they can communicate better, project management tools. There's so many tools that I imagine are not in this business, which makes it really, really interesting to me. Now, this is not a business that you can run remote. This is, you got to roll up your sleeves and get into it, right? But it does come with 10 full-time employees, which might allow the owner to actually focus on growing the business and marketing the business. It's on track to exceed $1 million. This EBITDA. Oh, okay. So anytime there's this thing right here, it says it's on track to exceed it. It's basically saying this 1.1 million is what it is expected to make in 2020. So I would actually be careful about that. You want to just base it off the last 12 months. Nobody cares about what you think you're going to be doing over the next few months. You're not going to want to pay for potential. You want to pay for like what they've actually done. This the biggest thing with this is like you got to understand the niche this is in, right? So where in Southern California is this business? What are the local intricacies? How is the economy doing in this specific area? What is it tied to? Are there ebbs and flows? Construction guys crush it when times are good, and then they get hammered during 2008, 2009. um, which some of them went out of business so fast that they weren't able to really crush it when 2010, 2011, 2012, and that huge boom of the next few years picked up. So I would look into this and just try to figure out locally where does this fit in. And you're definitely moving to California for this type of a business. But this is an interesting business. I think the multiple makes a lot of sense. So the next one is an e-commerce business. This is actually more my specialty. The first couple were more dealing with local businesses. This is an interesting e-commerce business. I don't really have a passion for knives, but to be honest with you, I have more of a passion for growing businesses and building businesses than I do for really the end product. Asking price, 1.1 million. Okay, let's figure out why. So 860 in gross, and then adjusted net is 325. That's pretty good. So what does that put you at? So if we do 1150 divided by, what was it, 350, you get about a 3.3x, a 3.4x on this business. It's not terrible, but it's about in line with that size of a business. You're going to pay about 3.5x for that. It's been around for 7 years. That's really important, especially in e-commerce. My biggest question with this is going to be, are these branded their own knives, or are they a retailer that focuses on selling other people's knives? Like, do they have control over that? Do they have control over pricing and branding? Looks like they focus on law enforcement, military, and civilian self-defense. Internet traffic has gone up during the pandemic. Absolutely, right? E-commerce has just absolutely crushed it. I like this business a lot. Oh, it does say that's SBA pre-approved. So, of course, the broker's going to say it's going to sell fast. Yeah, they all say that, right? And then it's still listed months later. So this is an interesting business. I think the numbers make sense, 3.5x. I would dive into the operations of this. One, do they control the brand? And then two, what do the actual, what are the growth levers here, right? Do they have a massive email list that's underutilized? Do they have, is the guy running it just a really good internet marketer and you're not as good as him? You could see that as a pro, as, hey, these things are already set up, or you could see that as a con, as in, I don't see ways that I could actually improve this business. And so that would be my main thing. Assets, there's not going to be a building here. You've got 2 contract staff, so 2 VAs doing a lot of work. It looks like they've just lost passion for the business. I don't know if everybody loses passion for the business, but I don't know if I believe that. The numbers look interesting. The niche is interesting. Now, when it comes to e-commerce, the biggest thing that I'm going to look at is, do they have underutilized assets? And the main one that I see is always going to be emails. They don't use email very well, or they have a ton of visitors coming to their site, and they don't capture those emails as well as they could have. Of course, you can click on this button, request some more information. Okay, so we looked at a few different businesses. Those are a few things that I'm looking for. I would probably say, to me, the recreational business and this e-commerce business are the most interesting ones. If you wanted to get into solar, or if you wanted to move to the East Coast, the solar one, it was so cheap. I would try to figure out why. The other thing is the construction one, very interesting business, pretty good multiple. But you got to figure out, like, what are the intricacies in that city they're going to impact the construction there. And of course, what are your lead sources, right? If all your business is coming through personal contacts, it's tricky to buy that business, because the owner of that construction business is hooking up his buddies, and they hook him up with jobs, and he just goes golfing with them, right? So that's kind of one thing. As we jump into, we looked at 4 businesses. Let's just look at how we can look at business brokers, like, say, in San Diego. So there's a bunch of different business brokers, Transworld Business Advisors. This is more of a franchise. They have a bunch of these locations all over the U.S. They have them in every big city. So you got businesses for sale in San Diego, or Sunbelt Business Brokers. So if I just click on this one, let's pull up here, Sunbelt. It's got a ton of ads on here. Sell a business, buy a business. Let's go to listings and see which ones they are here. When you're looking at one of these sites, you can scroll through and just kind of click through each one of these things, or you can dive into each one of these things more specifically. I like to sort by, I want to search by cash flow, not overall price, because sometimes price is a little deceiving. I like cash flow, mainly because, I guess I got to click create biz buzz. Oh, create biz buzz. That's a great little button they got there. So I want to focus on, which ones are cash flowing the most. And first one is a well-known auto franchise. The next one is a transmission center. Both of those I'm not super interested in. And the reason I look at these and why I'm not interested in it's a lot of it's my skill set, but two, I don't really want to move to California to run something that only makes 160K a year. That's like kind of below poverty. That's like poverty level, honestly, in California. It's so expensive down there. So what I would say with this is, if you were young and you wanted to get to this transmission center and get it to 3 or 4 locations and then have the economies of scale and try to do that over the next 8 to 10 years, you could have a really large exit. But it just doesn't make enough money to even like at a 2x multiple, right? This is less than 2x, right? It just doesn't make enough money to really pay yourself that much. Online retailers, actually, this is not a great site. So sunbeltnetwork.com, there just aren't that many businesses on here that make that much money. And most of them are in California. Some of them are in Georgia and Texas. But a lot of these things, like the cash flow isn't very high. So I'd actually just get rid of this. Let's go back into business brokers in San Diego. Let's do this businesses for sale in businesses for sale in San Diego, right? So you click on here, you got sell a business, you got buy a business, value your business. I'm going to click on buy a business, and then I'm going to search for kind of a variety of things, right? I can search for, you can scroll through. Sometimes it's interesting to do that, but I probably wouldn't do it too much. Let's just look at like dry cleaners and laundromat, just kind of a random niche, and see what comes up. There might be no results found, of course. So let's do, I know there's going to be some e-commerce ones that are going to be based out of here. Let's do that one. As you search for e-commerce, you can put your price in between certain ranges. We already looked at that knife retailer. You can see an event business that netted almost 300,000 last year. They probably got hammered by COVID. So I would really look at this particular business and say, hey, what's going on here? Like, is this something that's going to bounce back up, or is this going to be tanking because of 2020 and everything that's gone down? It looks like they had some exposure on Shark Tank. This is an interesting business just by kind of looking at it, but you do want to make sure that they have corporate team building events. I'm not big into the event space. I don't like events. I don't like throwing events, and I don't really want to be that social, let's be honest. So this is not an interesting one to me, but the asking price is not very much. Gross revenue, and you have really healthy margins. You got about 40% margins here from your income to your revenue. And so, the other thing is they're looking at is a down payment. So 150K down, and then you can pay them, seller finance more than half the business. So that's really, really good when you're looking at financing the business. So anyways, we looked at a couple different businesses. We've looked at just kind of different ways to do that. Now you're going to find different businesses that are going to be better, or in different business brokerages that are going to be better. But if you just start searching for, business brokers in San Diego, business brokers in LA, New York, wherever you want to live or wherever you want to be, these sites will pop up, and you can start using those filters to do that.